Hi everyone, it's Peter Schiff. This is Monday, January 17th, 2010. U.S. Markets are closed today in observance of Martin Luther King Day holiday. I thought I would take the opportunity to comment on a program I was watching last night on 60 Minutes. 60 Minutes happened to do a segment on American Samoa, and they focused on the angle of how many American Samoans have managed to make it into the NFL and how football is such an important tradition in American Samoa. But I think, as usual, 60 Minutes missed the real story on American Samoa. While I was watching it, they mentioned in passing that the local economy had been devastated by a natural disaster. There was an earthquake that produced a tsunami. But they also mentioned very casually that there was a lot of unemployment due to the closing of a tuna plant. And they mentioned that the plant had been closed in response to the increase in a minimum wage that was mandated by Washington. Now, first I was taken aback by the comment that even 60 Minutes would acknowledge a connection between a higher minimum wage and more unemployment. After all, 60 Minutes is very liberal, and generally liberals champion the idea of raising the minimum wage, despite the fact that conservatives generally object to it on the grounds that it causes unemployment. So when I heard this, I wanted to do a little research into the situation. So I went online and researched minimum wage in American Samoa and was really shocked at what I had found. And it's amazing to me that I had not even known about this in the first place. But in 2007, Congress passed a bill that made the minimum wage law in the United States applicable to all of our territories, including American Samoa. And we basically have been mandating annual increases in the minimum wage law ever since, until Samoa is in parity with the minimum wage law here in the United States. Now, initially when this was proposed, the Samoan, a non-voting representative to Congress, was opposed to it. And he warned that this would decimate the island's economy. Of course, he was right. Now, initially, there was an exemption in this bill that actually exempted American Samoa from the wage increase. And there was a lot of controversy around that exemption because apparently one of the tuna canneries, Starkiss, which is owned by Del Monte, was in Nancy Pelosi's district. And there was a lot of rumors that Pelosi had put this special objection in there because of the influence of a major contributor to her campaign. Now, these rumors are not necessarily substantiated, but of course it was part of the controversy. I think Republicans were upset about this, and by the time the bill finally passed, the exemption from American Samoa had been removed. And of course, President Bush signed the bill. And the results have been catastrophic for the Samoan economy. It's as if we declared war on Samoa. We devastated their economy with a single piece of legislation. The most important industry in Samoa is tuna canning. American Samoa was responsible for more than 50% of the tuna on American shelves in the supermarkets had been canned in Samoa. There were two big facilities. There was Chicken of the Sea and there was Starkist. Now, prior to this increase in minimum wage, I think the wages at those tuna facilities was $3.35 an hour. It has since been increased to, I think, $5.50, and it's targeted to get up to $7.25 wherever our minimum wage is. And obviously, the Congress thought that $3.35 an hour was not enough money. That they wanted to make sure that the employers in Samoa paid Samoans $7 an hour, $7.50 an hour, whatever the minimum wage is. Well, that's not what happened. What happened was Chicken of the Sea closed its plant, laid off thousands of Samoans. Why did they close the plant? Well, because it was no longer economical to employ Samoan workers based on the mandated minimum wage. So instead of having jobs at $3.35 an hour, they're now unemployed at $5.50 an hour. What's better, to have a job at a lower wage or to be unemployed at a higher wage? See, this bill did not simply mandate that Chicken of the Sea pay its workers more money. It destroyed the employment opportunity for those workers. And what did Chicken of the Sea do? They opened up another facility in Georgia. And now the tuna is canned there. But this is a highly mechanized facility where you have robots doing the canning. And so what this bill did is it made labor uneconomical, and it made Chicken of the Sea realize that it had to substitute the now higher priced Samoan labor for lower cost machines that it can build in a facility in Georgia. Now, there's still one more tuna plant open. StarKist is still there. They've laid off a number of people at the StarKist plant, but they're now lobbying Congress to try to roll back these minimum wage increases and put a stop to this. Now, if they can't succeed or they can't get Congress to enact some other kind of subsidies to keep them in business, they're going to shut down too. Now, according to what I read on the internet, 80% of the jobs in American Samoa were either directly in the canning industry or related to the canning industry, and we have destroyed this industry. If we don't repeal that minimum wage, we will impoverish this entire country because we will effectively make it illegal for Samoans to work. The only jobs that will be left in American Samoa will be jobs provided by the U.S. government, and there are a number of people in Samoa who are employed by the U.S. government. That's going to be all that's going to be left. The whole country is going to have to be on a welfare program. You know, one of the other unintended consequences of this bill, and of course there are many, is that when all these ships were leaving American Samoa with tuna, they had to come back to get more tuna. And on the way back, they brought all sorts of merchandise, products for Samoans to buy, right? Well, now, because they're not exporting all this tuna, you don't have these ships coming. So now, in order for the Samoans to get the consumer goods they need, they have to be able to pay to have ships come to Samoa with merchandise and then leave empty because there's no more tuna to load up on the ships. So as a result, prices are now going up all over Samoa. So not only are Samoans unemployed because of the minimum wage, but the cost of living has gone up. I mean, this has been the single most destructive piece of legislation to hit this island. Yet our well-intentioned politicians who want to feel good about themselves are completely clueless to the havoc, to the economic carnage that their legislation has wrought on this island community. They don't even, it's fewer than 60,000 people living there, and we're destroying their economy. But what we have to understand is, if the minimum wage law is destroying jobs in Samoa, it's destroying jobs in America. It's the same concept. It's not on the same scale because it's higher. You know, the cost of living in Samoa is a lot lower than it is in the United States. So forcing the Samoans to have the same minimum wage as California or New York is even more devastating. I mean, I'm just guessing numbers, but potentially maybe a $5 or $7 minimum wage in Samoa is the equivalent to a $20 minimum wage in the United States. Well, what would be the impact of a $20 an hour minimum wage in the United States? It would be widespread unemployment. We would be just as devastated as Samoa. We have to learn from this mistake. We have to understand that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And in this case, you have a bunch of Washington bureaucrats who want to pretend that they care about the workers of Samoa, and they want to raise the minimum wage. Well, it doesn't help the workers of Samoa because their productivity doesn't deserve that higher wage. As a result, their jobs are gone. They've been priced out of the market, and this shows that the good intentions of our bureaucrats just don't deliver. And we have to learn from this mistake. Not only do we need to repeal the minimum wage law in American Samoa, but of course it's going to be very difficult to get Chicken of the Sea to come back to Samoa after they've already spent all the money now building this new plant in Georgia. But we have to learn from these mistakes. We have to understand that government meddling into the economy can destroy it. I think the minimum wage bill, the hike in the minimum wage, has done more damage to the Samoan economy than that tsunami and that earthquake. Maybe not in the terms of lives lost, but in the terms of real economic damage, yes, we have done more damage to that island economy than an act of nature. And it's these man-made disasters that we need to put an end to. And we're doing the same thing here in the United States. The real problems that we face in this economy are not natural disasters. They are man-made. They are man-made in Washington, just like this economic crisis in Samoa. And it's too bad that 60 Minutes missed out on that, because that is the real story. That is the real interesting aspect of the Samoa story. It's not football, but it's the minimum wage law and how we've destroyed their economy. Take care, everybody.